Welcome back to Engine Killer. My name is Hank, and this week I'm going to continue painting my perimeter wall for Legions Imperialis. I start off by dry brushing the tops of the walls with, let's see, what is this? It's War Paints Fanatic. Yeah, so this is an army paint of paints. This color is called Bony Spikes. And I use a pretty heavy dry brush all over the top of the walls, not being very careful to go over all the air vents and things like that on top of the wall, because I'm just going to go ahead and paint over those later. I'm just going over all of the gold trim along the bottoms of the walls, and for this one I use scale color. These are my absolute favorite metallics right now, the scale colors. This one I believe is the Elven Gold. You can see I also have this little glass of water off to the side. It's more of like a little sauce dish or something like that, and that's because I had already been using it to add water slide transfers to the weapons that I'd already painted. But I'm not going to show that until later on towards the end of this video, and I'll probably just show adding water slide transfers to one. This color that I'm using here is actually a mix that I had made using the Army Painter's matte black air paint, and I had mixed that with some of their plate metal to get a sort of like a darker gunmetal, it's kind of like a darker sort of bolt gunmetal. That darker gunmetal on pretty much just anything that's on the rooftops, all of the like air vents and fans, things like that, anything that looks like it should be metal. Because then I'll go back over it later with a wash and a lighter color highlight, probably bolt gun and maybe a little bit of mithril. You can kind of see here and there on some of the walls where the primer had started to did go through the house paint and started to kind of eat away at some of the foam. But the damage is very minuscule. It's really slight, and I think it looks pretty cool. Games Workshop's, Citadel's Warp Lock bronze paint. I think back at some point it used to be called Tin Bits, but it's basically the same color as that. It's just like a dark copper, like a really dark copper. And I use that on top of the roofs for some of the, I guess they look like sort of like ceiling windows, but I figured because it's a defensive wall, that should have some kind of metallic color instead. Now here you can see my gate. As I said before, I'm really not liking it, but I did want to at least finish painting it up. So you can see I've already done like the streaking and dry brushing and all of that, and I started on the gold, and then here I'm just adding some more highlights, building up highlights on the gold. For this I started off with Viking gold, and then I do a little bit of a dry brush with Elven gold, and then a highlight with Scales Citrine Alchemy. I really like this color. It's really bright, very, very light yellow. Well, light gold, I should say. I guess it's sort of like if you had mithril, but for gold. Yeah, for the little ammo crates on top of the walls, this is another Army Painter paint. It says Venom Worm. Worm? I don't know really how you say that. Venom Worm. And here I'm just adding some more of the Elven gold to the pipework on the rooftop. I had all of the little details on tops of the walls and the gold trim on the front finished. I went back in over pretty much everything that I painted with the Army Painter's Dark Tone Wash. I pretty much use that on everything. Any sort of detail that's kind of stands out. So here I'm using Citadel Colors Dorn Yellow just to kind of dry brush in some sort of glowing lights, make it look like some of the lights are on here and there. So I used some of the Mechanicum decals for pretty much all of the guns. I tried to use basically the same markings on each one. I'm not really going to get too into detail about the process, but you will see it all here. I do use both Microsol and Microset to adhere the decals. I've heard a couple other hobbyists and miniature painters on YouTube referring to waterslide transfers as decals. I thought that was kind of strange because I'd always heard them called decals. So I looked into it, and it turns out decals is how it's pronounced both in the US and the UK. Decals is typically a Canadian pronunciation. But the people that I've been hearing say it they're not based in Canada, so I thought that was kind of weird, and I wanted to find out if that was a UK thing or something. But no, it's decals. I also, once I've got it on, because they're so small, it can be fairly difficult to get them right into the exact kind of place that I want. So sometimes, if it's not working with the brush, then I will sometimes also use my X-Acto knife to try to grab it and move it into place. You have to be really careful when doing that, especially not to tear the decal or scratch the paint. So here you can see I'm just wrapping everything up, gluing on the grill that goes on top of the vent, and putting the weapon on top of onto its mount. I'm still not completely finished painting with the walls or even building out all the other sections, but I wanted to at least end this video with some really nice photos and videos of the wall, it kind of in action, and so you can kind of see where the project is heading. Cheers.